Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Diamonds Sharpens Diamonds. Listen, we have promised you that we would, for the month of January and February, come to you with our topic for those 2 months. And the topic is Hindsight 2020. Hindsight 2020. And we have been through a tumultuous year for 2020. I mean, it's been rough, it's been up, it's been down. We've been in the pandemic, we've had economic uprooting and upturn, we had political mess. But 2020, in all of that, God has been faithful. He has proven to be faithful to his word. I tell you, the power of his word, the might of his word, the strength of his word has really shown forth. So we're going to talk to you about hindsight 2020. There's a lot of things that are behind us that we look at in the rear view mirror, no matter how hard it was, even the victorious things. We're looking at them now in the rear view mirror. So we're not trying to relive 2020, but we're going to talk a little bit over the next few weeks about 2020 and the hindsight as women, the things that we've learned. And then we'll talk about going into 2021, how do we apply those things, right? The things that we couldn't control, how do we not go back down that same road? And the things that we've learned from, how do we put those things into place? So tonight we have with us the one and only Miss Tammy Renae. Tammy is the voice of KSTL Jubilee 690 AM, full gospel station 24/7. And her voice is most loudly heard and most profoundly heard in her radio broadcast, which is Conversations 3.0. Now, listen, when I met Miss Tammy, it was so that we were going to be, a few of my colleagues and I were going to be radio station guests for her. And in that time, in that meeting, I was so blessed by her spirit, by her intelligence, by her poise, just by the woman of God, the God that radiates off her. I asked her, I said, hey, would you be willing to look at my website for Diamond Sharpens Diamonds? I want to tell you a little bit about our group. And she did. And I asked her, would you be willing to come on? And she said yes. So we have her tonight. She is going to bless our soul. I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about her, and then we're going to enter into some meaningful conversation. Miss Tammy?
Well, thank you so much, Miss Neva Brooks, for having me as a guest on Diamond Sharpens Diamond. I am so super excited to be here today because it is always a blessing to connect with God's people, with another sister that's on the same journey as I am, and that is being a servant for Christ. So I thank you so much for inviting me on
Yes.
today to your wonderful platform of all that you are doing with Diamond Sharpens Diamond, and just all that you do as a servant for our community. And I'm just honored to be here today to present whatever it is that the Lord has on my heart today. So thank you so much for having me. And I'm not sure how we are going to do this, but I'm just going to let God leads me as he always does and prayerfully is what we share today.
Yeah. So we're just going to flow. We are just simply
Okay.
going to flow. We're simply going to flow. One of the things that we've done with Diamond Sharpens Diamonds is we entered into a sock campaign. And God led us to be partners with several other organizations, churches, entities to distribute socks to children. So I want to thank you all for the donations that you've given for the socks we've been able to provide. We gave away over 1,000 pairs of socks in 2020. And so for 2021, we want to double that. So you'll hear me talking about our sock campaign. For January and February, we did tots and socks. So we just bought little bitty socks for the tots. In the wintertime, sometimes we'll do bigger socks for homeless. And then in the summer, sometimes we just do nursing home because they need socks all the time. So it's a year-long campaign. So I wanted you guys to know that. I wanted to just say thank you. So Miss Tammy, on the radio, in your platform, have you heard or seen a need like that in the community? Has anybody talked about what the community needs?
Well, you know what? I have recently partnered with a young lady by the name of Buffy Dillon, and she's also she assists the homeless. But I never, to the degree, have heard anyone who was actually doing like a socks campaign. And you know what? What I found to be so interesting, even though we think those things are so small in comparison, but we don't realize how much of a blessing those really are. And I learned that. And when you had shared that with me, I said, oh, immediately I have to do something to be a blessing. Because if we think about it, even something as small as socks, how important that is. Because when we for me, it just kind of takes me back to when I'm at home and I don't have socks on my feet. I always either have to have house shoes or socks.
Uh-huh.
And the validity of it is why socks are so important is because we don't understand that our feet are really the foundation, the basis for all that we have to carry above that. And if our feet are not covered, if our feet are damaged, we ultimately draw in all those toxins and things within our body, or whether we're stepping on a nail or whether we're stepping on something. And I'm going to just use myself as a testimony because recently that has happened to me. Things get in your carpet or get on your floor that you don't see. You're walking on it all the time and you think because it's your home, and you clean it or whatever the case is, but there are still little particles that lurk in the crevices or the areas of it, and you never know. I recently got something in my foot. I don't know what it was. It was one of those days I chose not to put on some socks. I chose not to wear any house shoes. And even though you clean, but the point that I'm trying to make is it totally affected my entire being of being able to walk,
Wow.
being able to something was sticking. It was something so small and so minute, but it gave my body such extreme pain to the point where I really couldn't walk. I really couldn't. And it was just something as small as a little piece of glass. At one point my mom had we was doing a Zoom call for my mom's birthday, and when she pulled away from the chair, she was actually sitting right behind me where I'm sitting in now. But when she pulled away, she pulled the cord, and it knocked over this whole it knocked over the whole entire lamp, and it broke the bulb in it. Now mind you, you vacuum it up, you try to pick it up and get it up as best you can, but there was obviously still a little particle from that light bulb in it. And it just affected
So you're breaking up just a little bit. You may have to repeat some of what you said because you're breaking up just a little bit.
that was lurking, and it just small as it was. I mean, even smaller than a mustard. Those things where I'm not even going to lurk on that because I know that it happens from time to time. So prayerfully, the message will still go forward, and it may zoom in and out. So those of you that are watching and are listening, I'll go back just a little bit so that you can hear the purpose of this story. But as I was stating, I there was a piece from a lamp when my mom broke the light bulb in my lamp, and it was still a piece lurking or whatever. But whatever it is, I just happened to step on it,
Uh-huh.
because I can only imagine that that's where it came from. But anyway, it affected my whole entire being. It bruised the bottom of my foot. I couldn't walk and all of that. But if I had of just put the socks on or the house shoes like I was supposed to, I wouldn't have garnered all the pain, all the bruising, which ultimately affected so much more in my body from something so simple. So I said all of that to say, in regards to how important your efforts are in getting these socks for the tots or whether it's for adults, we should still be covered. We don't understand the importance of covering ourselves in so many aspects. And those socks are such an important tool and vessel to help us from getting things like toxins or particles in our bodies that don't belong, because we don't understand that when it enters into the foundation of our body, which is our feet, because it carries everything else, if that's messed up, it's going to just throw off everything else in your body. And so that's really the meaning of it, is that support it. support the efforts of what they are doing with the socks for the tots. And that's why I've gotten on board with it as well, not just with you, but with another young lady, because I realize how important that is. I
Mhm.
know for myself, because I'm telling you, it was it it I still have a bruise now, but thank heavens that the particle is now gone. But it was so small, Miss Neva. It was so small to the degree that you would have no idea how much it would affect. But once it gets in your foot, it actually travels. And for me, it traveled and just did all kind of things to me. So I am a believer in socks and covering yourselves in ways that you think are so small and minute, but yet they can cause some great damage, to your body. So I just encourage you, if you're not wearing socks around the house, put some socks on. Put your house shoes on. But that was just one of the little things that I needed to share. But if we're going to get back to the meaning of this whole hindsight 2020, and do you know, when you sent me over that message, over that title, and what hindsight means, it is to reflect back on what all you've been through, and you don't necessarily have the clarity of things, of course, until after you go through it.
Yes.
And so that just brought so much to my remembrance, thinking over 2020 and what all I've had to endure, and just the clarity in it. And I'm a young lady that's really been trying to gain clarity from the spiritual aspect. I had lived most of my life, I want to say, probably the first few decades of it, in my own clarity, my own thoughts, which didn't
Mhm.
get me very far, of course. And so I said that it's time for me to grow in the Lord and grow in Christ. And so even when I looked at your title, Hindsight 2020, it immediately took me back to the Bible, to some scriptures, to the whole mind, body, and soul thing. And of course, the Bible biblically covers all of that scripturally. And it was just a few things that hit me, because if we look at 2020 as a whole, of course, we know it was certainly a wake up call in so many ways. It was a wake up call because, first and foremost, whether you are a spiritual being or you are not so close, or have such a close relationship with the Lord, it certainly was a wake up call I felt in the spiritual realm, because we were so disconnected from the Lord. We wasn't living according to his way, and how he does things. And I think it actually reminded me of the plagues in the Bible. And there were like 10 different plagues in the Bible. And
Uh-huh.
and I kind of I'm like, oh, this is a plague. We can call it the coronavirus, we can call it whatever we want to, but this is truly the Bible, the book of Revelations, revealing itself in real time. And so that's what we are experiencing. There were so many different plagues in the Bible, and 2020 certainly came to warn us, but it also came to save us, just like in the story. And I'm going to see if I could find just a little piece of that story that I shared, because it was really like one of the plagues of Egypt. It was really to save the Egyptians when they were with Pharaoh, and all the things that he brought upon them. But God brought this plague really to save them, because ultimately that's what he did. But if we think about our own life, and the virus, and I know that there has been so many people that has passed from it. 400,000 is way too many, but we think about that there is over 7.5 billion people in the world, and not minimizing those that have passed, but that's not even really 1% if we are put it in comparison of how many people are here. So it still lets you know that God is still faithful to his promises no matter what, and that he is still
We have a little bit of a lag again. So just so you know, we got just a little bit of a lag.
trying to save the don't want to. Yeah, and I hate that, and I'm not sure exactly why my internet keeps happening, and it seems to do it more so during the day than at night. And I don't know if it's just because of the all the children and things that are on Zoom.
Yes.
Because I had no issues with it on last night. But again, like I said, God word goes forth. So hopefully the messages that you all are meant to hear will go forth. And I give you my apologies for those of you that are watching. It's one of those things that's out of my control. But I'm just a firm believer that God will allow those things that need to be said to go forth. And I'm not your hooper and your hollerer, so I just kind of speak in my own way, and prayerfully you get the message from what it is that I'm trying to share. But I just want to say that God is faithful to his promises, even in a season
Yes.
like the one we just came out of, and we're still in it. We're still in it. And I say that truthfully, I think it's going to take still most of 2021 for us to get past all of this, but 2022 is going to certainly be different. But 2021, we are coming up out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know if I look back on the whole hindsight 2020, and related to looking back and reflecting, as well as comparing it to the vision in which is to come, I do believe that this is this is the season of God's supernatural favor for his people. For those that have been faithful to his promises and been obedient to what he has said in this last season, those of us that made it out of this last season, we are walking into a very favorable season for his people. And these are not just my words, these are God's promises. And if you look back on all the things that transpired in the Bible, even the plagues and things, when people came out of that, they became so prosperous, and they just became at a greater advantage than those of us that are living in the world. And so
Yeah.
I trust God at his word, no matter what it is that I go through, no matter what it is that I go through. And trust me, there have been times I felt like I was losing my mind. I done been through some things with some people. I done had some issues in life and some circumstances. And I am the first to admit that I didn't think I was going to come up out of it, because things can fester in you so tough that it seems like you're not going to get past that.
Yeah.
You always do. And it's funny, because if we look back on all the things that we came out of, it's like, how come we don't think we're going to come out of this? He done pulled us through so many things, but yet whenever we're in a situation, it always feels as if you're not going to come out of that situation. And yet you always do. And when you have to go back and look on it, you like, I don't even remember that happened. That's just how good God is.
That's
He
how
makes
good it
you,
is.
that's how good he is. He makes
Yes.
you remember where you come from. But again, he don't want you to stay stuck there. Everything that we go through is always just a reference. It's
Mm.
never a place that we are supposed to remain. Yes, look back on it. Be humbled that I brought you through it. And don't think that you can't go through it again. Don't get so on your little high horse that I can't bring it back around for it to happen for you.
Yes.
Because we get that way, and we start to think that we've gotten ourselves out of these situations, or we've attained these accolades and all these things on our own. But it's always God who has allowed it to happen. But if I got to be honest, I'm grateful for I'm grateful for what God did in 2020, because it reset me personally.
Wow.
It reset me
Tell us
personally.
a little bit more about that. What's that reset look like for you now?
Oh my good! When I tell you, I was a mess going into 2020. I'm on a broadcast. I love the Lord. I know God's word, learning it better. But I was going through some things, I'm telling you, I was broken in spirit. I'm on here every day talking about the Lord, but I'm broken in spirit because of some things, some situations, some relationships that had and by God's people, relationships that I have with God's people, that just wasn't godly, should I say. And
Uh-huh.
trying to keep things together, wanting to stay in situations that you shouldn't stay in. I don't care if it's God's people or portraying themselves as God's people. When you know it's time to go, when you realize that it's taking you away from God, it is keeping your mind off of God,
Yeah.
then you need to go. You need to leave it alone. And I was in a place like that. I'm like, okay, this situation, and not a personal relationship, but even just many of the work relationships that I've had with people that God had blessed me with. But for me, when things don't sit right, they don't sit
Hmm.
right. And so
Hmm.
I need to get myself out of it. But sometimes you stay in those situations just because you are just determined to make it work. because you don't want to say that you failed at this, or everybody's looking at you like, why would you let that go? That's such a huge blessing. And but it's like, you all don't even understand what this is doing to my spirit. If
Yeah.
something ain't right about it, I don't care
Yes.
what it looks like to you, because you're looking at it from the worldly view. But when I know that something is damaging my spirit in the internally, and it is keeping me from God, and I'm like, well, God, if this is supposed to be godly, why don't it feel godly?
Oh, wow.
But just because we are saying that we are people of God and children of God, it don't. I just go back to God's scripture. Everything is not. There's going to be false prophets. There's going to be all kind of stuff. That's God is he's rising them up. He's rising the good up. He's putting people in position, like people who have always considered me to be the least of these.
Uh-huh.
God is rising me, because I don't have a problem with speaking the truth, whether it's about myself or whatever it's about. I tell people all the
Okay.
time, I put my own self on trial. You don't have to put me on trial. I don't have a problem with telling you anything about me. And if you
Yeah.
and if you go back and read some stuff about me, you probably be like, I didn't know, Tammy, that yeah, it happened to me. When I wasn't so smart, or wasn't so bright, or truthfully, when I wasn't in Christ as I should, still out here in the world,
Okay. Yeah.
letting everybody else trying to tell me what to do and how to be, being a people pleaser. And it literally just destroyed me. It destroyed
Wow.
me. I'm playing you look at me on the outside. Oh, this girl looks like she got it all together, and she know how to talk that talk. Now I can make.
Wow.
I always say, people can make themselves. You can present yourself to be whatever it is you want to be in front of the public, but when you behind those closed doors, I'm at home going to sleep crying every single night. Every
Wow.
single night, because of what somebody has done to me. How am I going to just devastated? But that's when I was trying to be a people pleaser. I was putting people before the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that. We do that. And I'm speaking for me. So for anybody that's listening, don't say, Tammy, I'm talking about me, okay? But it's the truth. And so I love to tell the truth, because people look at me and think I got no, I don't have it all together, and I still don't have it all together. I'm still a work in progress, as they say. I'm still on this journey. But one thing about me is I love the Lord, and I don't mind telling the truth, the good, the bad, or the ugly, because
Okay.
I
So
believe.
then I think you're helping us here. You're helping us. You really are, because we talk about 2020 and hindsight 2020. I think we got some sisters, some women,
Mhm.
some people for sure, but some women who are still stuck there.
Oh
They
yeah.
look back at 2020 and they see themselves where you were in 2020. You said you started out 2020 in a mess,
Hmm.
worried about what people say, and crying at night. So now that you can look back at that, how did you get out of that? And what are you
Oh,
taking into 2021 that'll keep you from getting in that spot again?
you know what, Miss Neva? The first thing I had to cry out to the Lord. When I said I had to cry out to the Lord and ask God to reveal the truth, make me believe the truth about me. I'm walking
Mm,
around in a lie. I had to make him reveal me to me.
yeah,
You portray a lie for so long, you walk around for so long, that you get to believing that you really are who you are, and that ain't you at all.
my God.
I know who I'm supposed to be, but was I really walking that, really being that person every day?
Hmm.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't being her. I was being who people said Tammy was. Oh, that
Okay.
girl is so this and so that. Oh, so I'm just playing that role, like, yeah, that's me, talking that talk, walking that walk, and just all broken. But when
Broken.
I made up my mind, and I can't say it was really anybody or anything that made it up for me. It was really when I just got to the point. When you get to that point where you are just sick and tired of being sick and tired,
Yes.
when you know that this is not the life that God promised you,
Yes.
when you get to that point that there has to be something better for me,
Come on now.
when you get to that point where your mind is so messed up that you can't sleep at night,
Mm,
when you get to a place where you don't want to wake up in the morning, you don't care if the Lord takes you in your sleep, When you get to that point where you know there's so many promises that's been told and spoken over your life, but yet you are missing all those opportunities because you just so messed up on the inside that you can't see past your problems. It's time to make a change. And I was there. I've been
Yeah.
there more than once. I was there and I got so tired of going back to their place, going back to those people who was putting me in their place. So tired of being deceived by people who said that they loved me.
Mm.
So tired of living out everybody else's dreams, and I'm just letting my dreams float past, and I'm just miserable on the inside because I'm giving everybody else the good life with my gifts, skills, and talents, but none of it is getting me anywhere. I'm sad every day, coming home sad every day because I'm just trying to figure out, you supposed to be so smart, but you making all what are you doing? You pleasing
Mm.
everybody else but you, and you pleasing everybody else what the Lord. This isn't what the Lord had for you. So when I got sick and tired, I just had to come to the Lord, come to the realization and say, Lord, help me because I don't know what to do.
Mm.
I have made a mess of my life. And I just had to go to him and be real and let him know, look, I did this. You didn't do this to me. And we have to stop saying what God has done to us because God didn't do it. Most of the time, we've done it to ourselves.
You're
Now
right.
mind you, it's a difference in him
Yeah.
saying, it's a difference in when he's testing us, because it's no different than when you got the Pauls, you got the Josephs, you got the Hebrew boys that's in the fiery furnace. Those are tests because they have assignments that they need to be strengthened. Those are things that they need to learn. So they're being tested. That's different. But when we are in these problems and our life has literally been turned upside down, it's usually because we are not obedient to what God has said. Because when you live a life of obedience, those things that are trials or tests or tribulations, they don't weigh on you so heavily. That peace really does abound in you if you are truly living the life that God wants you to live. So when those issues and those trials and tribulations arise, you can deal with them a lot better.
Yeah.
I wasn't handling nothing well.
Right.
Okay.
You
I
know,
look like
when you said that, it really struck a chord in me because I was talking to somebody about a situation I was in, and what she asked me was, "So are you the victim or are you the volunteer?" And I
mm-hmm,
left that conversation with that because she didn't unpack it. She just asked that question, but it gave me something to think about. And then I thought about it again when you just said that. So talk about that a little bit in situations, in your situations, or talk to our women about if you're in a situation, you have to look at, are you the victim
mm-hmm.
or are you the volunteer? And then what do you do to get out of being that volunteer in a situation?
Absolutely. For me, now, when it starts off, you very well are the victim, because it trickles back for myself. It goes back to my childhood. It
Mm,
goes back to those things that happened, those things that I didn't deal with, those things that they didn't believe happened to me as a little child. Instead of people helping me when I go to them, telling me, "Oh, you're just a lying little girl. That didn't happen to you." That's not true. Went through most of my life dealing with some things like that until it arose again, and other people, it happened to other people. Then all of a sudden it became believable. But I said all of that to say that it may start off as you being a victim, and oftentimes when you're younger or you're going through your teenage years and things like that. But once you get to the point of adulthood, and especially if you become a woman in Christ, even if you're not yet in that place of Christ, there's still accountability that you have to take for yourself, for your own life. God has given us free will. He's given us free will, just like free will to be a child of Christ or to follow the world. We have free will over our own life, and He gives us the power to give it direction. Oftentimes we don't follow His directions. So
mm,
if we're not really, that's the first thing. If we're not really living for the Lord and following the roadmap that He's given us, that's our first mistake. But in all fairness, for people who perhaps have yet to come on that journey with the Lord and they just simply don't know, what excuse do they have? They can only go by what it is that they've actually experienced, because they don't know anything higher than themselves. But like for those of us, so if I just remove the Lord out of the equation, period, and I'm gonna bring him back in because he is in the equation. But if I just move him back then from when I was a young girl and I didn't really know Christ, even when I was baptized, didn't didn't really know what was happening to me. So back when all the trauma started for me back then, and when I tell you at being 52 years of age now, it it is just I'm just now allowing it to leave my life. Just now allowing it to leave my life.
At
Just
52.
at 52. At 52.
My Lord.
Because I wanted it's and come on, if I'm gonna be real about it, it's just selfishness. Me wanting what I want as opposed to perhaps what God had for me, or just accepting what other people said that I could have, or to the degree of people telling me what I'm worth, and I'm believing that.
Believe in that.
Believing that. And that's the and you do, and you literally believe that all your life, because people, I wasn't a little I wasn't as cute as I am now, and then not at all. And I was a little tomboy. When I say I was a tomboy, I was a tomboy. And so I wasn't attractive a child. I always have been a heavy set, even as a little girl. Third grade, I was skin and bones, looked like a little Ethiopian child. After that, up until the fourth, really really skinny little girl, fourth grade, literally looking like I look today. It's like 1 year transformation. I went from this. And so I knew then that something was wrong with me. And so then that's when all of the teasing and all of that started. It went from, oh, you so skinny, little big headed girl, to, now you're fat, now you this, and now you that. And so it's like I don't recall too much hearing I'm beautiful, or you this or you that. So it was more negativity, or you're a strange little girl. I always knew younger that I was different, in the sense of being very gifted in many ways, with the talents and things that God has given me. But back then, people didn't really know how to equate that, because I was still somewhat of a hermit, like I am today, really outgoing in my gifts, because I'm operating in my gifts, and so God gives me that strength. But if I was to go back to being the victim, I knew exactly where it started, and I saw myself just traveling that same road. But I'm telling you, it wasn't because I didn't try to get out of it. It's because many people don't want to listen to the truth of things, even when it comes to your family. And that's how so many people get stuck, because people don't genuinely want to deal with those things that are true. So many people, it's so much easier to just live in the lie than to unpack the truth, because it's
Wow.
so, you gotta travel a road that, as it said, the road to the straight is very narrow. And most people, it's just easier to live a lie than to unpack the truth, because now it's because what it's going to do is, now you got all these people and particles in your life, that now all of that's going to come to light. People don't want that to come to light, so that's why they don't deal with it. Because if they deal with it, then all the truth about who they are, or who they said they are, all the lies is going to come out on this side, on that side. And then now they're exposed. They're no longer who they had been portraying to be. So all the truth has to come out. And so that's why most people don't deal with it. And if I'm to be honest with me, even those people that have hurt me, that I have went to, and trust me, you're not going to get the answers, or you're not going to get the apologies from the people that hurt you. And truthfully, you can't even expect it, because if they doing the damage, they're so damaged themselves that they don't even realize they're doing the damage. So they don't know how to deal with your damage, or really
Wow.
even accept the fact that they are damaging you, because they don't even realize that they're doing it. And
Mhm.
so because they've been living in it too, and people have allowed them to be that way. And so when you get to the point of waking up, for me, this has been a waking up season. That's what COVID did for me. COVID woke me, when I tell you it woke me up, because I was asleep.
Wow.
I was asleep.
So 2020, that was a sleep season for you. I hear you say several times about people and then being stuck. So
Yeah.
2020 was a stuck period for you,
I
centered
was
around
stuck
what
before
people say.
COVID. Yeah, I was stuck before then. I was stuck before then.
Okay.
And I didn't and I don't know if I had to be, but it was the point where I just wasn't, Tammy wasn't believing in herself. Tammy hadn't got to the point of believing in herself. Now Tammy know how to pump and prime everybody else, but Tammy wasn't pumping and priming herself to believe in who she was in the Lord, saying that she loved the Lord and knowing how much the Lord loved her. But I didn't really believe I was who other people thought I was. It took me a
Mm.
long time to get there. I was believing all those negative things that were being said about me, or I thought I wasn't validated enough because I didn't look this way. I wasn't small like this in comparison to this person. All those things that have been fed in me from growing up. If you're not this or you don't look like this, you're not going to be successful in this way. You're not going to be able to get in radio. Nobody's going to listen to you. You don't have the look, or you don't have this, or you don't have that. I've been told so many things. And although I believed them, I think I believed in my gifts more than I even believed in myself, and even more than I was believing in the Lord. I just knew what He had given me. And so it took, I'm gonna tell you, and this is gonna be a part of my book. I'm never gonna probably say who it is, but there was a life-changing situation for me, with somebody in absolute power, that when I stated that, just the treatment of them and those around them, and how I was treated as a woman in Christ, in the body of Christ, and dealing with people in the body of Christ, that's what shook me. Because when I came back to the Lord in 2009,
Mhm.
after being gone for so long, I was a mess then. Like I said, I've been a mess for a very long time, but there's other points where I was least of a mess than other times. Okay, so I came back into the church, and coming back into the church and already damaged, and then not receiving love from the church. And instead of them embracing, the church, there's much hypocrisy there that we need to work on. But when you're talking about people that are damaged, and when I started the year in 2020, now mind you, if I go from month to month, I'm not going to in this, but if I look back on it, each month God would allow something else to happen. He would literally make me travel back to those things that damaged me so. Give me opportunities to go back to them and revisit them. Because for one, I was crazy enough to pray for that. Okay. And so people can't tell me prayer don't work, because whether good, bad, or indifferent, He can answer those prayers.
Yes.
First of all, but you wanted things to work out so bad. And so I would pray for those things. And God will take you back to those places. But what it did for me, it took me back to those places. And those situations were still the same. They would damage me all over again. And who did I have to blame but me? Because I asked for that, and thinking that things was going to change. And some things are not going to change. But what God will do is He will allow you to revisit that so that you can see for yourself. And now nobody can take the blame or accountability but you, because I've showed you. How many times I got to keep showing you? That's not going to change.
Right.
When are you going to wake up? Now it's time for you to wake up. I can get you out of this, but you got to make the choice. Are you going to listen to me, or are you going to keep trying to please these people over here that just simply keep telling you that they don't think you are worth what I know you are worth?
Yes.
And so, and that's how it all unpacked for me in 2020, because it made me revisit some things that I still wanted to happen. I went back to them, and it broke me down for the last time. And I said, and I walked away from it. And when I walked away from it this time, I didn't even know I was strong enough to walk away from it. I walked away from it before, but
Yes.
even when I walked away from it, I still wanted it. And that's the
Yes.
that's the problem. When you still want those things that have just broken you all the way down.
Yes.
It's a sickness. It really is, because you don't really think much of yourself. And when you keep allowing people to treat you any kind of way, especially as women, when we keep allowing people to treat us any kind of way, it don't matter if it's men or if it's women, because I've had experiences on both sides where women don't think I should be in the same room as they are, as well as men who just want to use me for whatever reason. And because I didn't love and believe in myself so much, I allowed it. I can't. I'm to the point now that, yeah. Oh, now I played that victim role for as long as I can play that victim role. Miss
And at some point you were volunteering then, right?
Trust me, I did.
Yeah, we lost you again briefly. We lost you again briefly, but I love it that you said that some people would
Yeah.
some people would just rather live a lie than
No,
unpack the truth. And when you said you went back
that's it.
and yeah, people don't know that they're hurting you.
Mhm,
Maybe they don't know, but they may just choose to live in a lie because
mhm.
it's more difficult to unpack the truth. That's powerful.
And I'm gonna tell you, that's the truth. Because God has allowed me to revisit many of those things. Now, mind you, I've never went through life where everybody that has, to a degree, have done me wrong, as they say, no, do you dirty. Trust me, it all comes back around. There's never been a person that it hasn't come back around for. Sometimes it takes a long time, sometimes it doesn't. But for me, wanting to go back to this situation just to see for myself if it was true, if it was going to be any different, any better, because the opportunity came back around, and it wasn't. But the thing I give myself credit for is I didn't allow myself to stay in that season much longer than I had all those other years. I saw the signs. I immediately got myself out of it because I knew that it was going to only damage me, because they were going to do what they were going to do, be who they wanted to be. And I was not going to let anybody continue to use me,
Yeah,
because that's what it all boiled down to, using. And it makes you feel worthless, but it's like you got to take accountability for, do you want to keep being in these situations that's going to make you keep feeling worthless, like you're less than anybody else? You're as great as God said you are, as great as he made you to be. And I
hmm,
said, there's no reason for me to be around people who don't treat me as God would treat me. If he said that I'm all that, then I can walk around all being all that in humility, of course,
sure, sure,
not forgetting that I'm no greater than anybody else, but I'm certainly no least than it, no less than anyone else. And
yeah.
so it took me so long to do that. But people are not
Yeah, we're losing you again. So let me just recap something I thought I heard you say, and then when you come back in, you can address that. I thought I heard you say that as you look back on 2020, that hindsight is that you got the strength in 2020 to walk away, and I heard you say for the last time
wanting
that
to. You have to walk in your truth. I believe. I don't care who you are, because people. Because you don't understand how many times I traveled that road. I traveled it way
yes,
traveled it way too many times. And if I had to travel it that many times and it wasn't going to change, what make me think it's going to change now? Only God can change it. And sometimes you have to just walk away from that situation so that God can change it. When you keep putting your hands on it and you keep messing with it and you keep dibbing and dabbing in it, you're only allowing God not to fix it. You are only putting yourself in a situation where God can't. He if it's meant to be, but you keep messing with it and you keep trying to mold it and shape it into what you want to be, he never has the opportunity to mold it and shape it into what he wants it to be. And I
mm,
know for me, I didn't I was just messing with that thing. I was just like, no, I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna make it work. And and it wasn't working. And for me, it was turning me into somebody I never wanted to be. It was putting hatred in my heart. It was just, and we know we're not supposed to be that way. But
right,
I can only fault myself for that, because I allowed it to happen, just because oftentimes we get our mindset on things that because we're looking at it from we're looking at it from the external. And when we
hmm,
look at things from the external, we haven't necessarily dissect the internal of it, because you have to realize a person are their actions,
hmm,
and so what they're telling you, if what they're telling you and what's lining up doesn't match, that's a huge red flag right there. And people show us that up front, Miss Neva. They show us that really right
yes
off
they
the
do,
bat.
yes they do, and you
We
have to
just
believe
choose
that.
to ignore it. You have
Yeah,
to believe it, but we
you have to
choose
believe.
to ignore it because we
Yeah,
already got this concept in our mind of who they are. And a lot of times it's because we're looking at the success of who they are. We're looking at their titles and all those things, which are not exemplary of who they truly are. But yet, because everybody else has equated them to be that, oh, they got to be this, they got to be that. But people will show you who they are, and you got to believe them. And you not believing them, that's what literally will kill you. Because for me, It almost took me out of here, not once, but twice.
Oh
It
my.
got me so far to the point of where I didn't care. The pain was so excruciating because I've always been this really, really lovable child, even though there was so much abuse, so much teasing me, so much of just so many things. And it carried so much in my life. And that's why I've been a person that had very few relationships, opposite relationships with people, because I know the damage it can do to me if I put so much into it and
Yeah.
I get so little out of it. I know the effect it have on me. So I had to let God polish me. And it had always been my struggle for many years. But in this season, in the COVID season, I asked the Lord to wake me up. It didn't just happen. I asked him to wake me up because I wanted to just go. I was like, Lord, you can just take me home today. This pain is just too much. I'm not getting past it. I've been stuck in it for so long. I need you to help me, because if you don't help me, I'm not gonna make it. And
Mm-hmm.
then I would get angry because it's like it's so many. I know the promises that the Lord made me, but if I leave, then I'm much closer to the promises than I was then. But if I leave here, I'm never going to experience those promises. So why would I give up? And I'm so close to getting what I want. It's like it would defeat the purpose of me saying I am a child of God. I'm believing God. I'm telling everybody else who the Lord, but yet I'm coming home every day and I'm just a mess. So I said, Lord, clean me up, because I need to truly be what I am portraying
Mm-hmm.
in front of other people. Let me not be hypocritical, like I'm calling out all the other, I'm being hypocritical.
Yes.
Saying I can't stand hypocrisy, but me living a lie, not living in my truth, being so broken. I'm talking strength, of course, trying to get myself through it, but I should really be able to live. I should be living that. I shouldn't have to come home just crying and not being so emotional and just feeling so attacked
Yeah.
by people. And yeah, and sure, they have accountability because they shouldn't be that way as God's people, but I got to take credit for my life because that's what I have to be accountable for. God will he'll deal with them to whatever degree, but what is it that I'm allowing to happen? What is it that I'm doing that's not pleasing to him? Why do I keep finding myself in these situations? I had to wake up and realize the truth about me, those things that were wrong with me that I
Yeah.
didn't never want to admit. I want to say what's wrong with them and what they doing, but when am I going to take accountability for what's wrong with me? Because it's something within me that I keep allowing this to happen to me. So
Happens.
when
So,
am I
yeah.
going to take accountability? So that's a lesson for women. We've got to take accountability for the things that we allow.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's just the truth of the matter.
yeah. So let's try to give our diamonds three things before we wrap up. The first thing, I think that I want to say, and I'm repeating what you say, so you help me with it, right? If you find yourself stuck, like Tammy was in 2020, stuck around what people say, what people do, and that's molding you in a way where you're really not happy. The first
Absolutely.
thing is ask God to show you you, or
That's it.
just ask for clarity to who I am, what's my part in this, and show me me. So that's the
Mhm.
first thing.
Mhm.
Keep talking, and we'll pull out the second thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. But my encouragement is to be real. Like I say, to be real with who you are and what you say you are. You don't have to pretend for anybody, good, bad, or indifferent. And for me, I've been living in pretentiousness for a very long time, but I had to learn how to love me. And when I got
Uh-huh.
to the point of learning how to love me, now I know I'm unstoppable. I know that I'm unstoppable because now God has opened up that door to where now I don't take nothing. If it don't feel right, I don't visit it. I don't do a whole lot of things anymore that and I'm able to walk away from things and not feel guilty about it.
Mm-hmm.
Before I would be so upset that I was hurting somebody else who didn't care if they was hurting me or not. But now I can walk away, and I walk away guilt free when I know that I'm standing on my truth and my values, and I don't change that for anybody else.
Yeah.
If it's what I believe in, it's what I stand on, and it doesn't matter who it offends anymore, because now I'm trying to live in the truth of who God says I am, and be an example, and be an example of that. So there's just been so many things that, I mean, just so many things. This right here has been therapeutic for me today, because this is probably the most open and honest that I have ever been. I don't even think I've been this open and honest on my own broadcast. So, but I'm all about saving souls, and helping people. So I'm okay with sharing those things about myself if it's going to help save somebody else, because truthfully, I'm all about sisterhood. I mean, that is so important. It's so vital and important to me, and the reason it's even more important to me now at the age of 52 years old is I haven't had that much in my life, because I didn't look like I've experienced so much with women, and just, yeah, I'm not even gonna go off into that, but there was a journey there. But as I've gotten older, because of my story, and I know how I was and the things that's happened to me, I am even more determined now to make sure that I don't be that person to anybody else. And so I have just asked God, like diamond sharpens diamond. I have asked God to sharpen me in those ways that I could sharpen somebody else, because
Yes.
I was dull. I There was literally no lead to my pencil. I was just as dull, and it was reflective on the outside. But now I don't view things externally. Now I strictly view it from the spiritual realm, and that is what has helped me to not see it, but to see it
I'm going to jump in one more time, just for the sake of keeping things going, because you're breaking up again. So we said we wanted to give our diamonds, give our women some points to help them if they're feeling stuck in a situation, or if they're caught in a situation where they're concerned about what people are saying about them at a
from
level that
a
they can't move forward. And we said the
larger
first thing was,
purpose and a larger perspective.
that we could say, show me, or ask for some clarity about who you are in the situation. And then I wrote down another thing, don't pretend, right? Be who you are and learn to love you. So
That's
once
it.
you get that clarity for who you are, the mask comes off. You don't
Oh
have to
yeah,
pretend anymore. You don't
that's
have to
it.
walk around with your head down anymore. You can be who God called you to be who you are, and learn to love
Mhm.
yourself. So those are some points. I think those are jewels that our diamonds can take away from this time together. Because you and I, we're not the only people that are
No.
in or have been in those types of situations. But I'm so glad to hear you say that hindsight for 2020, you've been set free in that. I heard you use the word, you have the freedom to walk in
That's
truth.
the third. Yeah, yeah. I am walking in my freedom. God set us free over 2,000 years ago, but as of today, I can literally say
Yeah, so jump back in when you can. I think you can hear me because I can't hear you at all now. But yes, walk in that freedom. You said be unstoppable. Uh, be unstoppable. If you once you get free, walk in the truth of who you
that
are.
I am free. And when you are walking in that liberation, when you allow God to let
Yes, for sure. For sure. Because the Bible does teach us that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, or where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. So those two things don't really walk hand in hand. When you're walking in the Lord, you can be free. And if you're outside of walking with Him,
that's
you best believe there's some bondage going on someplace. But I hear you say once you got to that point, you
oh
say, now I can
yes.
walk in the truth. Go ahead.
I can walk in the truth, and I walk boldly, and I walk proud. I'm no longer, you wouldn't believe this, Miss Neva, but I'm telling you, I could probably walk in a room with you and some others, and wouldn't feel like I belong there.
Uh,
I've walked in many rooms and never felt like I belonged there. Would just sit off to the side, feeling like, because I was so critical of myself and believing the things that people had told me. So I would be in these same rooms, and I would automatically just assume that those are the things that they are thinking about me.
mhm.
She's too big, or she's this, or she's that, and all those things. And so I would go in these rooms, and And it's a true saying that when you don't think positive of yourself, other people sense that and they
Mhm.
take advantage of that. It's a true thing. And even though I was pretending to be all of this, people can still tell when it's not real. People can tell when you're not real. I don't care how well you talk it, how well you speak it. People can tell when how you feel about yourself or what you're genuine about or what you're not real about. And trust me, they take it and they take advantage of it. And I know for me that has been my story. But now, and it's not saying that everybody, God has sent people in my life who has blessed me, who has helped me to get through it. But until I made up my mind to say, Lord, help me, free me of, free me of me.
Mhm.
Because I wasn't free. I've been living in bondage a very, very long time. And 52, I'll be 53 this year, but freer than I've ever been, even to a point of where I can talk about it the way I'm talking about it with you today. Because normally I didn't want anybody to know that I was that messed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody thought Tammy Renae had it going on and was to now why would I let anybody think any different? Why would I allow anybody to think different than that? But if it's all about us saving God's people and just being true, they need to know that. And that's the thing, most people won't go talk to somebody because of the judgment. Because and I know for me that to be true. Who can you talk to who want to hear it? Even now, even the people that hurt you, they don't want to hear that they're hurting you. They don't want to accept accountability for that. So it's up to you to decide who you want to listen to and who you don't.
Yes, I'm gonna give you a second because it sounds like you're trying to come back in.
Stronger in that regard to take because it's nobody else's responsibility. So yes, it's gonna come back in. I don't yeah fix my I don't know what it is, but we're not gonna worry about that. I don't really know what it is. Why it always does this. Sometimes it do, sometimes it doesn't. But
Yeah, well, you know what the thing of it is that the message still is going forth.
yes, it is.
The message is still going forth, and you said it earlier, and I just thank you so much for your transparency. I didn't know these things about you, and you're right.
Yeah,
When I met you, I thought this sister got it going on, got
yeah,
it all the way together, because your
yeah.
radio show is awesome. I mean, it really, 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 truly is, and you're awesome in that. And so I wouldn't have known that. Thank you for your transparency.
And
Thank you.
I'm gonna tell you, Miss Neva, not to interrupt you, and forgive me for doing so.
No, you're
But
fine.
I just felt like I could with you. Nobody has ever been able to pull this out of me. I don't even know where it came from. To be truthful, none of that is in my notes over here, and I didn't touch on probably too many of anything that I had wrote. I literally just let God just let it flow, and I had no idea any of this was coming out. But from the moment I first met you, and just your beautiful representation of Christ, and the technical challenges that I was having then on the show, it was your spirit that carried my show. And I
Mhm.
just felt a connection with you then. I just fell in love with you then. I mean, you already had this glow of just, you was just so radiant and so beautiful, just as you are now. And
Mhm.
I don't know what it was, but I was just so enamored by you that day. And so for you to ask me to be on your show, that was a big deal to me. This is not something that happens for me. I invite everybody, but rarely. I think this is only my second time being on the other side of the table. And so
Wow.
for it to come from you and how I felt about you from that initial meeting, this means everything to me. And so I don't know if God just allowed it to come out, but I felt comfortable enough in saying it because I never felt any judgment with you. And I have a lot of people on my program. That's why a lot of times when I'm speaking on my broadcast, it's usually when I'm just kind of one on one, when it's just me, delivering a message. But rarely am I probably this transparent with people on my show because of the judgment. But I get none of that from you. But I knew it was just time. I don't know. I guess God was like, it was just time, because that was my story. Hindsight 2020. It truly is hindsight for me, because I'm not her anymore. I'm not there. And going into 2021, my takeaway from 2020 is simply to be who God has created me to be. And I was disappointing him because I just was not living, I wasn't living in my truth. And if he is the truth and the light, then if I'm not living in truth, then how can I be a light to somebody else? And so it's like I felt like I wasn't even helping the people that I should have helped, because I just wasn't living in my truth. And now that I can live in my truth, I can help somebody, and I can truly be that light, because now I feel like I am. And I,
Mhm.
because I've let those things go that so easily beset me, as the Bible says. And now I'm strong enough to stand up for Tammy and who she is. I let my yes be yes, my no be no,
Yes.
and done with people taking advantage of me. But I had to stop that on my own. I had to say, okay, Tammy, you got to take accountability for you. If you expect other people to take accountability, if you are preaching, you got to walk the walk, the same talk that you're speaking, you got to be able to walk it. And I wasn't necessarily doing that. And so I want to live in that truth. And God allowed me to do that in 2020. Oh, it was hard. The purging
Oh
and
yeah.
the purification process is the most difficult thing. But if you want true transformation in your life, you got to allow God to let you go, help you to go through it, because I wouldn't have made it out on my own. And so it was only by his grace and mercy that I was able to do it, and
Yeah.
share it with you on today. So thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for coming. And I'm going to let you have the final word here, but I want to just do a little bit of housekeeping and then we'll close up. So for Diamond Sharpens Diamonds, February is coming next week. We'll have our next speaker, Dr. Kanika Turner, is going to come on and talk to us about hindsight 2020. She's a physician, y'all. She's a doctor, and I call her the real deal because she's a
Okay.
strong package as a woman, as a professional woman, as a trained doctor, an MD, and then a woman who believes in the power of prayer. So she's going to come and talk to us about 2020. You don't want to miss that. She has some COVID information that she can talk to us about, some vaccine information she can talk to us about, and the power of a woman of God moving forward in 2021. So you don't want to miss that next week. As you know, we are sort of transitioning from our my page, Neva Brooks, and all of our lives are going to be on Diamond Live on Facebook. We also have a YouTube channel, Diamonds Live, and so you'll see our lives there as well. We would love for you to come and partner with us. We come together, just like Miss Tammy said tonight, to sharpen each other. We're rough around the edges sometimes, and it takes a diamond who has gone through a refining process to help us get through that refining process. And then after that, we have what we call the polishing table, because you do know when you take a diamond and you sharpen it, you still
Hmm.
have sort of jagged edges and the light doesn't really shine through. But once you get to the polishing table, and you're able to polish out all those little imperfections, then
Hmm.
the light shines through. And what we say is then the true light of Christ can shine through us. So, like Miss Tammy said, now she can walk in her truth and be who God called her to be. So, at the polishing table, you have an opportunity to talk to me, to our speakers. If you said to me, I want to spend some more time with Miss Tammy, I want to talk to her a little bit more about that, she would be more than willing to come alongside and spend some time again, one on one, or in a more private setting that wouldn't be broadcast on Facebook or on YouTube. So just remember that. You have the right to the polishing table. You can follow us on dsharpensd.com. That's our website. And there's a place on there where you can sign up for some time at the polishing table. And now, listen, we love you. We appreciate you all. And as we move forward, through 2021. We want all our diamonds to know this. And you all have heard me say this a gazillion times, and I'll continue to say it. And then we're going to recap some things, and I'm going to let Miss Tammy take us out, whether she just wants to give us a benediction, whether she wants to pray, whether she wants to give you a few more points. I'm going to let her do it after I'm done. But here's what we say: you are a rare diamond, right? You are precious in God's sight. He only made one of you. There's nobody else like you. And my sister, I love the way you shine. Now that's to all our diamonds, but I want to say to you, Miss Tammy, whew, thank you again for your transparency. Total disclosure. I mean, you're right. We didn't plan this, but I'm glad that God allowed you at this time to say some things, to get some things out of you that you needed to do, because that helped and sharpen you, right? And I
Mhm.
guarantee you that what you shared with us tonight has sharpened other women. It is about empowering other women. It is about helping women get to from where they are to where they're trying to go to where they need to be. So thank you so much. I mean, I love you to pieces. I fell in love with you as well the first time I saw you, and I wasn't sure what it was about you, but I thank God for allowing our paths to cross and for binding our spirits in Him. So thank you so much.
Thank
I'm gonna
you.
let you close us out any way you
Wow.
want.
I, we should have ended on that note. How beautiful was that? Thank you so much, Miss Neva Brooks, for having me on today on Diamond Sharpens Diamonds. This sharp, yeah, did I say it correctly? Diamond
You
Sharpens
said it
Diamonds.
correctly. Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
this platform is going to be is already a blessing to so many, and for me to be able to be a part of it, and you allowing me to share just a portion of my story, I'm honored. I'm absolutely honored, and so I thank you for that. And you know, I'm going to have you back on my show as well. But this has been a blessing. Thank you for even just opening up this platform to so many that's going to need it. And thank you for being the beautiful spirit that you are. It is because of you that I'm able to sit here today to say this. So you sharpened me on today, and you didn't even have any intentions of doing that.
Right.
But it did it freed me even more on today, and so I'm so blessed and so honored to be here. But I would say my takeaway from today of just being here with you and your presence with your audience, to all of you, and I pray that I was a blessing of some sort to those of you that are watching this. And should you want to find me, you can at Tammy Renae on Facebook. You can also find me at Miss 3.0 on Twitter and Instagram, and my website is conversation 3.0, spell out the word point.org. And you can book me, all those things that you would like. But my takeaway from what the title of this message today was, hindsight 2020. Of course, when we look back on anything, we have a clearer perception of it than we did going into it. And so I encourage you to just reflect over your life. Those things that are weighing you down, that so easily beset you, I encourage you to let them go. Let them go and be free and live the life that God has purpose for you, because we all have a purpose, and we want to live out His will and His purpose. And your life will be greater than you have ever imagined. I'm just now walking into my purpose. It's been designed for me a long time ago, but I'm truly walking in it, and it's only because of God's grace. So I encourage you that whatever you are going through, know that you are not the only one. Know that somebody loves, somebody cares for you, somebody is compassionate about it, and somebody understands. But get you the help that you need, and free yourself so that you can walk in all the greatness that God has established for
Mhm.
you, because you don't want to miss that. 2021 is full of blessings, and there are so many blessings set aside just for you. So free yourself so that you can walk in those blessings and walk in love and peace. And thank you all so much for receiving me on today. God bless you.
God bless you all.
God bless you. Thanks so much.